Okay. So in the previous class, we have discussed what is dock, right? What is a dock? What is harbor, right? We have seen. Then we have seen what are the harbor characteristics and why the harbor is going to be required. Then we have seen the classification of harbor, that is artificial harbor, that is man-made, and then uh, deliberately constructed artificial harbor. Then we have seen artificial harbor. What is natural harbor? We have seen. So this is a natural which is covered. All the sites is covered by the land. And semi-natural is one part. So there is some constructed part and there is some natural part. So this is your yeah, the classification based upon the construction, right? Or classification based upon your artificial or it is a natural harbor, right? Then we have seen what are the classification based on functions to be performed. So in this, we have seen what are harbor for, what is harbor of refuge, then commercial harbor, what is fishery harbor, what is military harbor. This is what we have seen. Okay, so in today's class, we will be discussing regarding the planning of harbor and what are the requirements or the ideal requirements, right? Or ideal site requirement for having the harbor. So this is what we are going to study in our today's class. Okay, so the planning of harbor should be carried out after collecting the necessary information, right, of the existing features and the proposed site. See, whenever we are going to do any type of a construction, right, we need to have the basic knowledge of that particular area. Without having the basic knowledge of that particular area or that particular site, right, we cannot start the construction. So similarly, in case of your harbor also, if you want to have the harbor construction also, right, we needed to see what are the site conditions that is there in that particular area, whether it is going to be feasible in order to construct the harbor or no, whether it is going to damage any kind of aquatic life or the site whatever we have selected, right, if it is going to take more amount of construction cost, then it is also not of use. And by constructing harbor, how that particular area is going to be developed, right? Or what is the strategic point of that particular harbor, right? If you are going to take one particular area, right, how that area is important, right? Whether it is having the facilities. If the suppose if you are going to have the material, right, into your harbor, from that particular harbor, whether the material can be easily sent to the all other part of country, that we need to see. So there are many n number of aspects are there where you need to see if you want to have your harbor, right, at what particular area you can have it, right, that we need to see. So now following the important factor that we need to consider before selecting the site for the your construction of a harbor. Right. Now, to carry out, I have told the thorough survey of the neighboring, right? That is the neighborhood or say your surrounding of that harbor site. We are going to have it. Now, here we are. What are the different things that we are going to study under this criteria is, right? What is the shore depth, right? What are the water depth in that particular area? Because if the water table is at a, or if the water is going to be at a greater depth, then we will be spending more on the cost also, right? So it is not that we should have the harbors at the lower depths. No, because we will be having the different kinds of a ship that are going to come into that particular harbor, right? Might be some are very large ship, right? Some are small. So we need to have the average in order to select your harbor, right? We need to study about what is the water depth, right? What is the water depth that has to be there in that particular your area. For example, right now, if you are going to, this is your water level, right? Now we are going to have very big ships also, right, which is going to have the bottom too much larger bottom, right? Suppose this is for large ship. This is the bottom of the large ship, right? And now, if you are going to get the small or middle age or middle type of your, this is the depth of that, right? So it is it you are here in order to select the harbor site. We need to take the consideration of the depths of the ships, okay? Because right, for the momentum of the ships, it should not be, if suppose if we choose an area with having the lesser depth, then it will be in that particular harbor, the larger ships with having the greater depth will not be able to come over there, or if it is coming also, then it is going to be stick under, it is going to be stuck under sand, right? So in that particular case, we need to have the thorough study about the depth of the water in that particular area that we needed to take care about. Okay. Next is the nature of the harbor, whether it is a sheltered or not, that has to be studied. Okay. And the existence of sea insects, right? The sea creatures, whichever are there in that particular area, if it is an endangered species, if it is coming under the sea species and it is endangered kind of a species, right? In that particular area, if it is there, then it is going to disturb them again. First of all, they will be small in number, and then again, if you are going to construct such kind of an construction over there, then it is going to put under them in a problem. Okay. Next is the problem of silting or erosion of coastline should be carefully studied. See, now here the erosion also we need to study. Regarding the erosion also we need to study. See, in case of your in case of the erosion, right, during your high tides and all, right, if there is a too much of erosion is going to occur, right, if there is a too much of erosion is going to occur, then if the anchorage, if you are going to have, right, if you are going to have the anchor, right, and then that anchor will come out, right. Now we will see with an example. Suppose this is your shoreline, this is your water level, and this is your shoreline. This is your shoreline with having, see, the depth like this, right? So it is having the depth like this. Now we should study how much amount of sand erosion is also going to the bank side, right? This is what, in case of your high tides, the too much sea, what will happen? It is the waves will come like this, and it is trying to take out the sand from here. Now, what will happen is, okay. Now, what will happen is, if too much of sand erosion is there, then suppose if there is an anchorage is over here, right? If there is an anchorage is over here, and if the soil erosion is going to occur, this there is a ship, right, which is going to be anchored, right? And if there is a too much of soil erosion is there, then this particular sand erosion may cause the anchorage, right, which has the anchorage, whatever it has been anchored into the sand, right, it may come out. So we need to take the, see the character, how much amount of the erosion is also it is going there, right? It is happening in case of your the in case of the high tides and all, and the sand erosion and all, we need to see the, right, to ascertain the character of the ground, borings and surroundings should be taken, right. The surrounding characteristics of the ground we should take, right. And then to know the probable surface condition on land, borings on land should also be made, right. And next is the meteorological characteristics of that particular area, such as the frequency of storms, right? If too much storms are happening, right? If too much of storms are going to happen, right, at that particular area, right? Then again, it is frequent, say, erosion will be there, right? And the rainfall, the amount of rainfall, see, amount of rainfall and the frequency of the storms. It is going to create an cumulative effect over your your bank or the beaches, or say your it is going to be getting affected if there is a too much storms and too much of rain is going to occur. Then range of tides, right? What is the, whether it is the intensity, the intensity of the tides, we need to see whether it is having the less intensity, high intensity, right? Then maximum and minimum temperatures, right? Direction and intensities of wind, humidity, direction and velocity of the wind, that we need to see in all these areas, right? Then requirements of a good harbor, right? This is going to be one very important aspect, right? So requirement of a good harbor we need to see. Okay, now as I have told the criteria, within this criteria, right, many will come over here, right? The depth of the harbor should be sufficient for every type of visiting ship. So that is what I have explained when explaining regarding the type of the depth of the harbor. Okay, the depth of the harbor should be sufficient for every type of every type of
Yes,
existing ships. Hello, yeah, hello.
the Shakir is trying to join the class.
What?
The Shakir is trying to join the class. He asked me to tell you.
No, no, I cannot allow him. Whenever he want, he cannot attend. Now he will be made absent for this class. Okay, you don't disturb me in between. Okay. The depth of harbor should be sufficient for every type of visiting ships. So this is what I was explaining, right? So the harbor, whatever the depth we are going to prefer, right? The depth what we want, right? So that depth, it should be suitable for all types of different types of ships that are going to visit, right? It is not that some of the harbors are going to get very big ships, right? Some of the harbors are only going to get very small ships. So unnecessarily, if the small ships are coming to that particular harbor, right, or in future, if we need to consider the growth of that particular harbor also, that we need to consider, right? So we should always, if the small ships are there, right, if the small ships are there or is going to come to that particular harbor, we should have the moderate depth. But because in future days might be moderate to large kinds of a ship that may come, or the as harbor is going to get developed, right, we will be, probably we will be having, if we take a lesser depth for the harbor, then it may create a problem for those larger kind of a ship. So we should have moderate to say moderate kind of a depth we should take when we are going to choose the harbor depths. Okay, then the bottom of the harbor should provide the secured anchorage, right? The secured anchorage to hold the ships against the high winds, right? The bottom should have the sufficient secured to have the anchorage. Okay, and to prevent a destructive wave action, the breakwater should be there. Now what is that breakwater? We will see it later, right? So if there is a too much amount of, right, wave action is going to occur, then we should have, right, we should have the wave your breakwater should be provided. Okay, what is that breakwater? We will be seeing in our further classes, right? The entrance of a harbor should be wide enough, right? I have told you what is the entrance, right? This particular entrance, this is your harbor, right? You can see that the small ships are over there. Here the entrance of the harbor should be wide enough so that the larger ships also can come inside. Okay, so that is what I wanted to say in case of your requirement of a good harbor, right? And harbor area required depends on the following factors: the size and number of the ships to be accommodated in a harbor at a time. See, if we have very less capacity, right, then we cannot accommodate all ships which are going to come over there. So we need to have the future expansion also, right? And if we are going to construct any kind of a harbor, right, we need to take care regarding the future expansion of those particular harbors, and then we need to construct the size accordingly. Okay, the length and width of the needed for the momentum of the ships from the berths. right? Wherever it is standing, right? The length and the width for each ship we need to fix up, right? So, and a type of a cargo to be carried out. Okay, to make the harbor useful for operating and dispatching, right? The water depth in the entrance and towards the approach channel and the harbor basin should be sufficient even at a low water spring tide, right? So, whenever there is a less water in the sea, right? So, in that particular case also, right? So, we should have the sufficient amount of a depth so that even though if there is a less water, right, its depth should not be going to be get affected. See what will happen in case of your summer season, might be the water level, right? The water level is going to be bit reduced, right? So we will see how it is going to create a problem if in case of your summer season. Now suppose the water level, this is your bank, right? Now the water level in your in your normal season, that is in the rainy season or in the winter season, might be till this particular level, and in case of your summer season might be the water quantity is going to be get reduced bit. So this reduction in height or reduction in the water depth should not affect the effective depth that you are going to utilize for the ship movement. Okay, so it should not happen that your larger ships directly since here the water depth has reduced, directly what will happen, the depth of your ships will also going to be get reduced over from this to this, and it should not happen the larger ship should get any kind of a difficulties when it is going to approach into the banks. It might, you have seen in many of the cases that in the newses also you have seen that there is a ship that has been obstructed near to the bank. Why this happens is because of the lesser depth that we are going to be provided. Okay, so this is how we needed to take care regarding the depth. Okay, to make the harbor useful, right? Now like that width for the momentum of the ships, and then to make the harbor useful for operating and dispatching ship, the water depth in the entrance should be sufficient even at a lower swing. So this has been explained, right? It is very important that the location and the alignment of elements such as entrance, approach channel, turning basin, breakwater, right, and valves, jetties, docks will ensure easy 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 delivery of the all the different types of ships that we are going to have, and then we are and additional navigation facilities that has to be provided. Okay, then the main part of harbor is to provide the safe and suitable accommodation to the vessels needing for refuge, supplies, repairs, refueling, or transfer of the cargo and passengers. So main work, right? This is what the refuge, supply, repairs, right? It should be sufficient, have the sufficient space in order to accommodate the different types of the ships. Okay, now we will see how we are going to select a site. So it has been already mentioned to you, availability of cheap land and construction material, right? It should not happen that wherever you are going to choose your harbor site, there the construction material are not going to be available and we need to procure from somewhere, then it will be, the cost is ultimately it is going to increase. The natural protection from the waves and winds has to be there, right? So if natural protection is there, then your construction part is going to get reduced bit, right? And then we are going to spend less amount in case of your construction. So natural protection should be there. Transport and communication facilities, right? The transport and communication facilities should be proper, as I have told, right? It should be, your harbor should be well connected with the different parts of that particular area, right? So it has to be very well, it has to be very well connected. Okay, it has to be very well connected, right? So that we need to take care whether the harbor is going to have the transportation capacity, right? Proper locations. It should say it should be well connected with the other parts of a country and all. We should think, and then we should have the harbor. Industrial development of the locality, right? Wherever, for example, we are having the Bangalore port and Mumbai port. So it is going to give the industrial development will be going to occur in those particular area, because what will happen, suppose if the industry is going to be have import, right? If it is importing the raw material, and they, if by having the industrial area in the vicinity of the port, what will happen? Their transportation cost is going to get reduced. So near to the port, what will happen? The industrial development will be going to occur, because the industrial people, they don't want to spend on the transportation aspect. So it is going to have the industrial development in that particular area, right? The seabed, subsoil, and foundation conditions should be properly, it has to be evaluated, and then we need to see defense and strategic aspects also we need to see, right? These harbor will be, will may become, say you are repair, and say you are from weapons and all, it has to be transported, right? And then traffic potentiality of the harbor, right? So this is have the sufficient capacity to bear the number of ships. Okay. Next is, we will see what are the different components of your features of harbor, right? We will see different features of the harbor. So this is what breakwater. This is your regarding your docks. This is your entrance channel. This is your jetty, berthing and turning basin, all right? And then this is your pier head, right? So all these different components we are going to see one by one. Now we will first see regarding features of a harbor. It should have breakwater, it should have docks, it should have the entrance channel, it should have the jetties, it should have the lighthouse, right? Berthing basin, turning basin, pier head, wharves. Okay, so we will see one by one, right? We, in today's class, we will be covering breakwater, right? Now, what are breakwaters? Right? What are breakwaters? The breakwaters, see the word itself, it is telling what it is. Breakwaters. It is going to break the water force. Okay. Breakwater are the structure constructed to enclose the harbor to protect them from the effect of wind generated by the waves by reflecting and dissipating their force of energy. So if we have the breakwater, right, the wave impact it is on your harbor, it is going to get reduced, right? So it is basically what it will do is it is going to reduce the intensity of the wave energy, which is going to be come from the waves of, right? It is going to be come from the waves of your waves of the water, right? So helps to use the area thus enclosed as a safe anchorage for ships and to facilitate loading and unloading of the water means of breakwater. Since it is going to be helpful to reduce the wave action, it is going to help to provide the facility for, right, say your anchorage and loading and unloading. The height depends upon its purpose, extent of enclosed water area, and the nature of shipping work. So it is completely dependent upon. Generally, the height of the breakwater is going to be kept, right? It is equivalent to 1.2 to 1.25 times more than the expected waves. Suppose whatever the waves are going to be expected, right? So beyond that, we need to construct the breakwater. 1.25 times we need to construct it high. Okay. Now, it also helps to prevent the beach erosion. So I have told you this, see, you can see this is your breakwater. What will happen? It is under this or inside it, what will be there? The harbor will be there. So if we are going to have this breakwater, whatever the waves are going to come over here, right? The interior part of your harbor, it is not going to be get affected. See, this is what your breakwater is, right? This is what your breakwater is. What it is doing is, right, it might be there is a rough tide is there in the sea. You can see that here. You can see in this particular picture itself. My screen is visible to you all. Yes, screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here, what is happening is, see, in this picture itself, you can see that. Look the picture carefully, right? You can, if you want, you can have it zoom. Please zoom the screen, right? What is happening is, you can see these are the normal waves, right? These are the normal waves which is there in your sea, right? In here, you see this picture, the waves are, it can be seen. Whereas in this particular area, yeah, this is your harbor area, where as compared to this, less waves are there, or it is equal to nil, right? So what these breakwater is doing is, it is going to reduce the number of the waves, and say due to these particular waves there will be turbulence is going to be get created, right? So now what this breakwater is doing, the turbulence what due to your wave action, the turbulence whatever has to, it will be created in inside your harbor, it is going to get reduced. So here you can see that in this particular area, you can see that there are bit number of waves are there near to the entrance. Why is, you have kept it open, whereas the other part of your harbor you cannot see the waves, right? Or waves will be there, the intensity is going to be reduced a lot. So here you can see that the wave intensity, and here you can see, right, how it is. So this is how your breakwater is going to help you, right? And then I was telling regarding heights depends upon the purpose and extent of enclosed water and existing ship, and then it also prevent the beach erosion. So if breakwater is there, the water intensity is going to be get reduced. So this is how it is going to help you in maintaining, right, the beach soil, beach sand also. The most common breakwater has a core of small rocks, right? You can see that there is a small rocks are there, or rubble with a covering of large rock, right? So the most common breakwater use has a core of small rocks. Beneath this small rock will be there, above that the larger rock will be there. Okay. So why larger rock will be kept, it is going to be act as a supporting material for the smaller rocks. Okay. So this is how your construction of your breakwater will be done, right? So here it has been extracted from your National Geographic channel. So what they are going to do, they are going to have this breakwater. This is what the stones are, the smaller stones, what I was telling. It is going to be placed over here. Above this, the larger stones will be kept. Okay. It may be a small structure placed 1 to 300 feet offshore in a relatively shallow water. Okay. And a breakwater, either fixed or floating, choice depend on the normal water depth and the tidal range. Okay, the breakwater might be fixed or the floating. Okay, and it is dependent upon the depth of the water. The construction is usually parallel or perpendicular to the coast, right? It can be done either parallel or perpendicular to the coast. So it can be done like this. It may be parallel, or it can be constructed perpendicular to the coast. This is parallel and this may be the perpendicular. So like this, it can be constructed. So this is what your how the construction will be done. This is a quarry run that we are going to have. Then smaller stones, then larger stones. So this larger stones will support these smaller stones, right? So this is, see, this side, the sea side, right? How the sea side, you can see the turbulence, right? The water turbulence. This is how it will be there. You are to towards the sea side, and this is what the harbor side. So this is going to reduce, right, the intensity of the wave action. So this is how your construction will be done, right? So this is how the construction will be done. This is the smaller size, middle size, and the larger size. So this is how your construction of your uh, harbor will be done. Okay. So regarding docks, we are going to study in our next class. Is it clear? What are breakwaters? What is breakwater? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any doubts are there in case of your size selection and site selection criteria? Any doubts are there? Site selection criteria. So in today's class, we have studied regarding how the site of the harbor should be, what should be the depth, right? And what should be the height of the breakwater? What are the different criteria that we need to have when we are going to have this construction of a harbor? Okay. From the next class, right? In the next class, we are going to see the other part of your harbor. We are going to see the what are the different other parts of the harbor. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. Mm. Vishwanath Marnoor is there?
Yes, sir.
Good. Lad, Sagar Lad. Okay, he is absent.
Present, sir.
Rakesh,
Present, sir.
Rakesh Biradar Patel, absent.
Present, sir. Present, sir.
Mhm. Okay. Write your attendances in your chat box. Again, we are going to take the attendance. Regular attendance also we are going to take.